The first $100,000 is not a financial milestone, it's a psychological filter. Most people never reach it, not because they lack income, intelligence, or opportunity, but because they quit during the invisible phase where nothing seems to happen. Why does progress feel painfully slow in the beginning? And what if the real barrier isn't money at all, but endurance? Today, we break down the phase that quietly separates long-term builders from everyone else. A friend once told me he had been investing consistently for 4 years, every month, without fail. Yet when he opened his account, the number barely moved. It felt flat, pointless. He started questioning everything, the strategy, the market, even himself. Meanwhile, colleagues were upgrading cars, taking luxury vacations, posting visible success. He wasn't behind mathematically, he was behind emotionally, and that's where most journeys quietly collapse. Not because the numbers don't work, but because the silence of early compounding feels like failure. If you're serious about building real wealth, not just chasing visible wins, this channel is built for you. We break down the psychology, the systems, and the long-term strategies that actually endure. Subscribe and join a community that plays the long game. The early stage of wealth feels mathematically unfair. You invest consistently, you sacrifice consumption, you delay gratification, and the numbers barely move. A 7% return on $5,000 is $350. On $10,000, it's $700. It doesn't feel like progress, it feels microscopic, and that perception becomes dangerous. Because the human brain is wired for visible reward, not delayed acceleration. We expect effort to produce immediate results. When it doesn't, we assume something is broken. But what if nothing is broken? What if the system is working exactly as designed, just quietly? Compounding is exponential, but it begins looking linear, and linear progress feels boring. It feels unimpressive. It feels invisible. So people pivot, they change strategies, they increase risk. They abandon consistency, not because the math failed, but because their expectations did. The first lesson of this phase is simple but brutal. Wealth grows silently before it grows visibly. Can you tolerate progress that doesn't feel like progress? Before money compounds, identity compounds. The $0 to 100K phase is less about building capital and more about building character. You are not yet an investor with large returns. You are becoming someone who invests regardless of returns. That distinction changes everything. James Clear once wrote, "Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become." At this stage, each monthly contribution is a vote. Each avoided impulse purchase is a vote. Each automated transfer is a vote. Your portfolio may look small, but your identity is forming. And identity is far more powerful than income. Because income fluctuates, markets fluctuate, motivation fluctuates, but identity stabilizes behavior. Are you trying to grow money or are you growing discipline? Because one always precedes the other. The individuals who survive this phase understand something subtle. Net worth is a lagging indicator of personal standards. Raise the standard and the number eventually follows. Most financial journeys don't fail in year 1. They fail around year 3 or 4. The novelty wears off. The sacrifice becomes repetitive. The growth still looks modest. Meanwhile, comparison intensifies. Friends upgrade homes. Colleagues upgrade lifestyles. Social media amplifies visible success. And suddenly saving feels like deprivation. Have you ever noticed how quickly lifestyle inflation spreads through social circles? One raise triggers a new car. A bonus triggers a vacation. A promotion triggers a larger mortgage. The pressure isn't explicit, it's atmospheric, and resisting it feels isolating. This is the emotional breakpoint, not a mathematical one. Because the numbers are still compounding, slowly, steadily, but internally, doubt compounds faster. You start asking, is this worth it? Am I falling behind? Should I take more risk? The truth is uncomfortable. The first 100K is not a wealth test. It's a social resilience test. Can you stay steady while others accelerate visibly? There is nothing magical about $100,000. The market does not unlock a secret level at that number. Yet psychologically, everything changes. At 7%, $100,000 generates $7,000 a year without additional effort. At $200,000, it generates $14,000. Suddenly, growth feels visible, tangible, real. But what changed? The math or your perception? The truth is, the formula was always the same. The difference is scale, and scale only arrives through endurance. This is why so many quit right before acceleration begins. They abandon the runway just as the plane is about to lift. Would you judge a bamboo tree for not growing in the first year, knowing it spends years building roots underground? Compounding behaves the same way. The roots form long before the visible rise. The individuals who reach 100K are not smarter. They simply stayed long enough for the exponential curve to reveal itself. And once it does, momentum becomes psychological fuel. In a culture that rewards visible consumption, disciplined accumulation feels countercultural. The system around you is engineered for spending. Advertisements, social validation, even workplace dynamics subtly encourage lifestyle upgrades. Promotions are celebrated with bigger homes. Raises are absorbed into higher expenses. And quietly, the ability to build capital disappears. Have you ever asked why wealth rarely looks flashy in its early stages? Because those playing the long game understand something strategic. Visibility attracts pressure. When you signal status too early, you lock yourself into maintenance costs, financial and social. The silent builder avoids this trap. They automate investments. They ignore short-term noise. They measure progress in savings rate, not social applause. Naval Ravikant once said, "Play long-term games with long-term people." The first 100K is proof you are playing a different game. Not the fast one, not the loud one, the durable one. Motivation fades. Systems persist. During the early wealth phase, relying on willpower is a strategic mistake. Discipline built on emotion collapses under stress. Markets fluctuate. Careers shift. Personal expenses surprise you. If your strategy depends on feeling inspired, it will not survive volatility. This is where architecture matters. Automated contributions, predefined investment rules, fixed percentage savings, clear financial thresholds. These are not restrictive. They are protective. They remove daily decision fatigue and reduce exposure to emotional swings. Ask yourself, are you designing a system that works on your worst day or only on your best? The individuals who cross 100K rarely do so through bursts of brilliance. They do it through mechanical consistency. They treat wealth building like infrastructure, not entertainment, and infrastructure is built quietly, layer by layer. When the system is stable, the growth eventually reflects it. Remember, there is a difference between wanting discipline and engineering it. Most people rely on memory and motivation to manage their finances, but serious builders rely on structure. That's why we're developing the Trip to Wealth Command Center, a centralized system designed to bring your income, spending, investing, and net worth into one strategic view. Not to overwhelm you with numbers, but to remove friction and reveal patterns. When you see your financial architecture clearly, decisions become calmer, leaks become visible, progress becomes measurable, and consistency becomes easier, because clarity reduces emotional noise, and emotional noise is the enemy of compounding. The $0 to 100K phase is also a career game, not just an investing game. When your capital is small, the fastest compounding often happens in skills, reputation, and leverage. What actually increases your investing power? A slightly better ETF or a higher savings rate created by better income? Most people obsess over returns while ignoring the engine that funds the portfolio. In this phase, Learning a high-value skill, negotiating intelligently, or switching into a role with better upside can move the needle more than market timing ever will. But here's the strategic twist. Skill compounding is invisible too. You can study for months and feel unchanged, then suddenly your opportunities expand. So the question becomes, are you investing only in assets, or are you investing in the person who buys assets? Deep work, consistent practice, and deliberate career positioning create financial optionality. Optionality reduces desperation. Desperation creates bad decisions, and bad decisions kill compounding. If you want the first 100K to arrive faster, build the income base while protecting the investing habit. Can you treat your career like a long-term asset instead of a daily transaction? That is how quiet professionals win. They compound competence until the market cannot ignore them. The next barrier is friction. Early wealth building fails less from ignorance and more from small leaks, fees, subscriptions, impulse upgrades, and treat-yourself moments that feel harmless. Why does $50 disappear so easily when $50 invested feels insignificant? Because spending delivers instant emotion, while investing delivers delayed identity. The strategic move is to redesign your default environment. Reduce the number of decisions you must make, and you reduce the number of chances to fail. Automate transfers the day after payday. Separate spending money from building money. Pre-commit to rules when you are calm, so you don't negotiate with yourself when you are tired. This isn't discipline as punishment. It's discipline as design. What if the real reason you can't stay consistent isn't weak willpower, but a system that keeps tempting you? The first 100K belongs to the person who removes friction, not the person who adds intensity. When your financial life is simple, your mind becomes quiet. And when your mind is quiet, compounding finally has room to work without constant interruption. Make it easier to do the right thing than the wrong thing, every week. That's the hidden advantage most people never engineer. It compounds quietly for years. Now comes the rule that feels conservative but creates speed: survival. Compounding cannot reward you if a single mistake forces you out of the game. In the 0 to 100K phase, one bad year can erase multiple good years, not because the market is unfair, but because your margin is thin. Do you have an emergency buffer, or are you investing while hoping nothing breaks? Are you chasing higher returns while carrying high fixed expenses? The quiet builders protect their runway. They keep cash for shocks, they avoid debt that locks them into stress, and they don't confuse courage with exposure. This is where many smart people sabotage themselves. They take risks that are mathematically reasonable but psychologically unbearable, then panic at the worst moment. The market punishes panic more than it punishes ignorance. So the objective is not maximum growth, it's maximum staying power. Leave room for error. Build flexibility. Make your plan resilient to boredom, volatility, and surprise. Because the investor who survives the first decade is the one who gets to experience the compounding everyone talks about in theory. Are you optimizing returns or optimizing endurance? When you protect the downside, the upside has time to find you eventually. Comparison is one of the most corrosive forces during the early wealth phase. It doesn't attack your bank account directly, it attacks your patience. When someone your age appears to be advancing faster, buying more, earning more, you begin to question your own pace. But what are you actually seeing? Income or debt? Visibility or leverage? The modern world amplifies surface success and hides structural fragility, and if you measure your progress against curated snapshots, you will always feel behind. The strategic builder understands that wealth is mostly invisible in its early stages. There are no applause moments for maxing out retirement accounts. No social validation for resisting lifestyle inflation. So you must choose your scoreboard carefully. Are you measuring status or measuring autonomy? The first 100K requires emotional insulation from external noise. If your self-worth fluctuates with other people's upgrades, your strategy will fluctuate too. True compounding requires internal standards. Define your metrics before society defines them for you. Because the moment you compete in the wrong game, you abandon the long one. And the long one is the only game where wealth quietly becomes inevitable. There is a moment in this journey where boredom becomes the biggest threat. Not fear, not crisis, boredom. The routine feels repetitive. Contributions go in. Markets move. Nothing dramatic happens. And the human mind craves stimulation. This is where people introduce complexity just to feel progress. They start trading. They chase trends. They alter strategies that were working simply because steady feels slow. But steady is the design. Ask yourself, if your portfolio feels boring, could that actually be a sign it's functioning properly? Infrastructure is not exciting. Foundations are not glamorous. Yet without them, nothing stands. The disciplined investor reframes boredom as confirmation. It means the system is running without emotional interference. It means decisions were made in advance. It means no daily drama is required. In this phase, resisting unnecessary action is a skill. Patience becomes a competitive advantage, because most financial damage is self-inflicted through impulsive adjustments. The quiet professional does not need constant movement. They need direction and consistency. And consistency rarely feels dramatic in the moment. It feels repetitive, until one day it feels powerful. At some point, you will confront doubt, not about markets, but about yourself. Am I disciplined enough? Am I sacrificing too much? Should I enjoy more now? These questions are not signs of weakness. They are signals that you are operating against cultural momentum. The early compounding phase requires you to delay visible rewards while others accelerate visible consumption. That creates tension. The solution is not extreme deprivation. It is conscious allocation. Spend intentionally on what genuinely increases your life quality and eliminate what merely signals status. This balance prevents resentment from building beneath your strategy, because suppressed desire eventually erupts in financial self-sabotage. The first 100K is not about rejecting pleasure, it's about aligning pleasure with sustainability. When your lifestyle supports your investing habit instead of competing with it, progress stabilizes. The disciplined builder understands trade-offs clearly. Every dollar spent is optionality reduced. Every dollar invested is optionality preserved. Which side of that equation do you want dominating your future? Long-term wealth is less about denial and more about intelligent prioritization over time. Momentum, once it appears, changes behavior. After years of slow progress, there comes a point where your portfolio starts contributing more than you do. Growth feels less forced. The numbers begin to respond in a way that validates your patience. But here is the strategic insight. Momentum is fragile in the beginning. If you withdraw too aggressively, increase expenses prematurely, or assume acceleration is permanent, you can interrupt the curve. The disciplined builder treats early momentum as reinforcement, not permission. It confirms the system works, but it does not justify abandoning it. Have you ever noticed how quickly people relax their habits once they see progress? That relaxation can be costly. Compounding rewards consistency, not celebration. The first signs of acceleration should deepen discipline, not weaken it. Because the most powerful stage of growth still requires time. Protecting momentum means continuing the behaviors that created it. Keep contributions steady. Keep expenses controlled. Keep risk aligned with long-term tolerance. The early acceleration phase is not the finish line. It is proof of concept. And proof of concept deserves reinforcement, not complacency. The real transformation during the first 100K is internal. You begin to see money differently. It shifts from something you spend to something you deploy. It becomes a tool for optionality rather than a source of identity. This psychological shift changes how you evaluate opportunities, risks, and trade-offs. When you understand that capital represents time freedom, you become less reactive to short-term noise. Decisions slow down, impulses weaken, strategic thinking strengthens. This is where wealth architecture truly begins. You are no longer trying to get ahead quickly, you are designing durability. Ask yourself, if income stopped tomorrow, how long would your system protect you? That question forces clarity. The silent strategist builds buffers, diversifies income, and avoids fragile commitments, because fragility is the enemy of compounding. The stronger your structure, the more calmly you can navigate uncertainty. And calm decision-making protects returns more effectively than aggressive optimization ever could. By the time you approach 100K, the numbers matter less than the mindset you have constructed. That mindset compounds into every future decision you make. Ultimately, the $0 to 100K phase is not about the amount itself. It is about proving you can operate independently of emotional swings and social pressure. It tests whether you can follow a long-term plan when short-term feedback feels minimal. It tests whether you can resist upgrading your lifestyle simply because others do. It tests whether you can treat wealth building as infrastructure instead of entertainment. Most people do not fail financially because they lack intelligence. They fail because they underestimate how psychological the process becomes over time. So ask yourself honestly, if your progress remains quiet for 5 years, will you stay? If growth is steady but unimpressive, will you continue? If no one applauds your discipline, will you persist? The first 100K answers those questions. And once answered, the rest of the journey becomes structurally easier because the habits are established, the identity is stable, the system is durable. Compounding then shifts from fragile to inevitable. And inevitability is the quiet advantage that long-term builders protect above everything else. The first 100K is not a number to impress others. It is a psychological threshold that filters discipline from distraction. Social pressure tests, identity, boredom tests, consistency. Unexpected events test resilience, and comparison tests confidence. Those who survive do so by building systems, protecting margins, compounding skills, and defining their own scoreboard. Wealth begins quietly, long before it looks impressive. And once endurance replaces emotion as your guiding force, acceleration becomes a byproduct rather than a goal. The early phase of wealth is invisible by design. It asks for consistency without applause and discipline without immediate reward. But those who endure discover something powerful. Compounding favors the steady, not the dramatic. Stay in the game. Build the system. Protect your runway. Because real financial strength isn't built through intensity. It's built through patience, structure, and the quiet decision to continue when most people stop. And there you have it. The $0 to 100K phase. Why most people quit. If you found value today, I highly recommend watching my next video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Also, feel free to leave your comment below, especially if this video made you think differently. I appreciate your support more than you know. Until next time, stay consistent, stay patient, and stay winning. See you in the next one. Money Magician.